Well, welcome to our first lesson in Unit 8 on greatest common factor and prime factorization. Our learning targets for this lesson are to find the prime factorization of a single number, and then to go ahead and use that greatest common factor to factor polynomials. So let's review first of all what prime factorization is and how to do that. So our first example says find the prime factorization of 150. Well, we can break down 150 into two factors, 15 and 10. Now, numbers that are multiplied together to give you a bigger number are called factors of that number. So when we're doing prime factorization, we're going to be writing all of the factors in their prime number form. So 15 and 10 are neither of those are prime numbers. So we can break them down further. 15 is 3 times 5, 10 is 2 times 5. Now if I want to write the prime factorization, I want to write them in order, the smallest to the largest. So I would write 2 times 3 times 5 squared. Whenever we have multiple factors, we use exponents to express that. So this is called the prime factorization of 150. Here are two for you to try. Go ahead and find the prime factorization and bring those answers to class. We're going to be using prime factorization to find the greatest common factor, and then we're going to use that greatest common factor of a monomial to factor polynomials. So the greatest common factor is the largest monomial that divides into each term of a polynomial without having any remainder. So here's what I mean by that. So our example says find the greatest common factor. So we have two terms here. Terms are separated by addition or subtraction. And we want to know what's common to both 9 and 12. What number goes into both of those numbers? What's the biggest number other than 1? Well, 3 turns out to be the biggest number. 3 goes into both 9 and 12. What about our a term? We have 4 a's and 2 a's. So I can take out an a squared. And then b, I have 7 b's there and 5 b's there. So I can take out 5 from both terms. This right here is called the greatest common factor. Over on the right, what's common to both 4 and 6? And that would be a 2. How about some m's? There's 2 there and 3 here. I can take out an m squared. And I have 4 here and 6 there, so I could take out n to the 4th. And then p, I have 6 and 4, so the most I can take out is 4. So there's my greatest common factor there. So in this one, we want to go ahead and factor the polynomial once we find the greatest common factor. So here's one term, here's one term, and here's one term. What's common to all three terms? And the answer to that is 5 and x. They all have a single x and they all have at least one 5. So then when we're going to factor, what we're going to do is we're going to divide each of these terms by 5x. So 5x cubed divided by 5x, okay, the 5's will cancel right here, and one of our x's will cancel with the 3 up here, and I'll have 2 left up there. So this would leave me with x squared. And so that's what we're going to write. We're going to write x squared in the parentheses. And then I have a minus 10x squared. So if I have minus 10x squared divided by 5x. Remember, we're always dividing. So this time, 10 divided by 5 gives me a negative 2, and 1x will cancel with the x squared, and I'm left with a single x. So I'm going to write that as minus 2x. And then the last one, we have 35x divided by 5x, and the x's completely cancel, and 35 divided by 5 is 7. So I'm just going to write my result there would be a plus 7. This is now factored, okay? The other thing to notice if you want to check your answer on these is that you should be able to go ahead and distribute the 5x through your parentheses and come up with what you started with right here. So 5x times x squared gives us 5x cubed, 5x times negative 2x is minus 10x squared, and 5x times 7 is 35x. So that's a good way to check your work. So here's some more practice. It says factor completely. Well, what's common to all three terms? We have one term, two terms, three terms. Well, the coefficient in front of x is 1, so there's no number terms that we can take out, but we can take out the x. And then if I take the x out, I'm left with 9x cubed minus 3x. Now here's a common mistake students make. X divided by x is 1, so you have to write in there plus 1. Remember, if we use distributive, we should be able to get right back to where we started. I'm going to leave letter B for you to do. You can bring that answer to class. So, simplifying fractions. Fractions are simplified when they are reduced. To reduce fractions, we want to identify and cancel any common factors. So we factor first, and then we cancel. So let's do some practice. So how does this work algebraically? Well, we can go ahead and factor the numerator. Okay, we have 4x plus 8. Both of those terms share a factor of 4. So if I take out a 4, I'm left with x in the first term. If I take 8 divided by 4, that leaves me with a 2. Now when we have that factored, you'll notice that the 4's can cancel in the numerator and in the denominator. So I can cancel those out, and I am left with then in simplified form x plus 2. So that is my answer when simplified. Over on the right-hand side, what's common to both terms in the numerator? Well, I can take out a 6a, right? And then write your parenthesis. 6a divided by 6a is 1. And then minus 36 divided by 6 is minus 6. A squared divided by a is a. So if I go backwards and do my distributive, I should get right back to this thing that I started with. So now this is my numerator, and I can cancel the 6 and the 6 here, and the a here, and then I am left with, in the numerator, I have 1 minus 6a. In the denominator, all I have is a b. So that is in simplified form. Our last problem here says the formula h equals negative 16t squared plus 76t plus 16 can be used to represent the height of an object that is launched into the air from 16 feet off the ground with an initial velocity of 76 feet per second. Rewrite the equation by factoring the right-hand side using the GCF and making the t squared term positive. So I have h is equal to negative 16 t squared plus 76t plus 16. Okay, so I want to make this term positive, so I know I need to factor out a negative number, and I need to know what number goes into all three. Well, I don't know what factors go into 76, so I'm just going to break that down. I know 2 goes in there because it's even, and 2 goes in there how many times? 38 times? And then 38 is still even, so that's 2 times, what is that, 19? And I know 19 is a prime number. So the prime factorization of 76 is 4, I have a 2 times 19. So that's 2 squared times 19. Well, 16 and 16, they both contain a 4, so I know that I can take out a 4. And then this term doesn't have a t, so 4 is my greatest common factor, but remember I want to make the t squared term positive, so I'm going to take out a negative 4. So what we want to do is take negative 16t squared and divide it by negative 4. And what is our result? Well, when we do that, a negative divided by a negative, these cancel and they're both positive, right? 4 cancels with 16, it becomes a 4, so I have a 4t squared. So I'm going to write 4t squared in here. The next term is 76t, and we're going to divide that by negative 4. Well, what's a positive divided by a negative? That's going to be a negative number, and over here we know it's going to be a 19, and we still have t. Okay, so 4 goes into 76 19 times. You can use your calculator to verify that. And then lastly, we have a positive 16 divided by a negative 4. And 4 goes into 16 4 times, right? So we have 4 divided by negative 1, which is a negative 1. Whoops, a negative 4, excuse me. Minus 4, there we go. That's kind of sloppy. Let me erase that so you don't get confused. So this should be a minus 4 for our last term right there. So I'll just go back and rewrite that. Minus 4, there we go. That's better. So there you have it. Negative 4 times 4t squared minus 19t minus 4. So if we go backwards using the distributive property, our signs and everything should match what we started with. That's it for this video. See you next time.